That sudden sinking weight in your chest while scrolling past a friend's vacation photos is a biological reflex, an ancient, highly conserved social alarm system. The human brain evolved to solve the recurrent challenges of ancestral hunter-gatherer life. In those close-knit tribes, survival depended on maintaining group cohesion and safely navigating local social hierarchies. Possessing the mental hardware to instantly measure your physical strength or social influence against the people around you provided a massive advantage. If a subordinate hunter accurately assessed that a local leader was dominant, they would defer, avoiding a physical conflict that could end in death or exile. The mismatch lies between our biology and environment. This chart tracks human adaptation. Our genetic evolution moves at a slow pace across millennia, intersected by a steep, exponential curve representing technological acceleration. This is the evolution gap. Our minds were forged to assess our standing among a small, localized group of familiar faces. Now, we are using that same local survival hardware to process an infinite, global stage of highly curated identities. In 1954, social psychologist Leon Festinger formalized how this tracking system works. He realized that human self-knowledge relies on social context. When objective physical measurements, like a tape measure or a standardized test score, are unavailable, we instinctively turn to social comparisons to calibrate where we stand. But we aren't simply looking for cold, hard accuracy. Our brains are heavily driven by the motive of self-enhancement. When our ego is threatened by failure, we naturally process social information in a way that inflates our personal worth and restores emotional balance. Yet this collides with a competing drive called self-verification. Because an unpredictable world was once dangerous, humans crave a stable self-concept. If an individual has a negative self-image, they may actually seek out environments that confirm their low self-esteem, simply because those environments feel predictable. Every day, your perception of reality is influenced by this internal tug-of-war, the immediate emotional desire to be praised, clashing with the evolutionary requirement to be accurately understood. How you feel after comparing yourself to someone depends on the direction of the look. Are you looking downward at someone less fortunate, or upward at someone you perceive as superior? Upward comparisons are the primary trigger for envy. While often viewed as a single emotion, research across multiple cultures shows envy splits into two distinct psychological pathways based on how we judge the situation. The first pathway is benign envy. If you believe someone earned their advantage through hard work, your brain activates a moving up motivation. You feel driven to emulate their habits or acquire the exact same status-elevating product they own. When the advantage feels undeserved, the brain shifts toward malicious envy. This is a pulling down motivation. Instead of copying the target, you are driven to sabotage their position or purchase rival brands to differentiate yourself from them. Envy functions as a dual pathway survival mechanism, dictating whether we strive to match our peers or work to undermine them. This biological calculus gets even more volatile within close relationships. According to the self-evaluation maintenance model, a stranger's success is easy to ignore. But if your best friend achieves outstanding success in a domain that defines your own identity, it poses a severe psychological threat. To resolve the pain of that upward comparison, you might subconsciously change the relationship. You may emotionally distance yourself from that friend or begin to subtly undermine their future performance to protect your own self-evaluation. This localized threat response also dictates how we perform in schools and corporate environments, creating what researchers call the big fish, little pond effect. Look at this visual comparing two environments. On the left, a capable individual is a large fish in an average small pond. On the right, that same individual is placed into an elite, highly selective pond. Notice how their self-concept shrinks. Our cognition prioritizes the immediate local contrast over broad national rankings. A study of over 100,000 students across 26 countries confirmed the impact of this local contrast. When equally capable students enter high-achieving, selective environments, their academic self-concept and achievement motivation drop compared to peers in mixed ability settings. Because our self-worth is intensely localized, high-pressure environments can systematically deflate a student's confidence, as the daily reality of upward comparison overrides their objective talent. Modern digital networks have removed the spatial and temporal boundaries that historically kept these comparisons in check. These platforms aren't inherently damaging. When you engage in active use, posting updates and directly messaging peers, you fulfill the evolutionary need for social integration. Active users report higher levels of social support and slight boosts in well-being. The negative impact stems from passive use. This is the act of silent, endless scrolling, which forces the brain into a unidirectional cycle of comparing your unfiltered daily routine against the globally idealized highlight reels of others. Meta-analyses show that exposure to these digital upward comparisons accounts for a statistically significant portion of the variance in depressive symptoms and body image disturbance among young adults. This passive digital consumption forces our biology to perform a task it was never designed to handle, evaluating ourselves against an impossible global average. Common advice often focuses on social media literacy, reminding people that images are filtered. However, clinical trials show that simply knowing an image is altered does not stop the brain's automatic biological reflex to compare itself. Instead, effective interventions rely on cognitive behavioral therapy and mindfulness. These frameworks train the mind to observe the urge to compare without attaching self-worth to the outcome, significantly reducing the anxiety of missing out. Beyond just observing the urge, clinical psychology has identified a proactive countermeasure called social savoring. Social savoring is an intentional, empathic process. Instead of scrolling past a peer success, you pause to reflect and generate joy for their happiness. This shifts the focus from a personal deficit to a shared experience, neutralizing the threat response. We cannot delete our evolutionary history, but by understanding the mechanics of our internal ego, we can navigate modern hierarchies with greater clarity, transforming a source of anxiety into an opportunity for genuine connection.